Let's jump into problem 19.7a. We're doing an operating lease from the perspective of the lessee, the person taking out the lease, leasing some kind of asset. So this is unique in our course really so far, where the differences between US GAAP, IFRS, and Canadian GAAP, we call it ASPE, are just totally different. Normally there's huge overlap between the three accounting rules, but this one, no, they're just totally different. So let's jump into it. That's why we take it on in three parts. We'll do US GAAP first, IFRS second, and Canadian ASPE, which is actually a really easy method. We'll do that third. But let's start with US GAAP and work our way through. Castle Outdoor Center, a sporting goods retailer, leased a delivery van on the following terms, and then just discusses that the three frameworks are totally different here. We're leasing a delivery van. We're leasing commencing January 1st, 2031. It's a 3-year lease, $10,000 payments. Payments are due each December 31st. Now, we're leasing it January 1st. Our first payment isn't until December 31st. That's unusual for a lease payment. Usually you have to pay something up front, but okay, we'll live with that. So here's the lease, time 0, time 1, time 2, and time 3. At the end of years 1 and 2 and 3, we're going to make $10,000 payments for a total of $30,000 in lease payments. The remaining economic life is 8 years. The fair value of the van is $34,000, and our discount rate is 6%. It says show that this is an operating lease under US GAAP. Okay, so step 1, as you'll recall, is did title change hands? If title's going to change hands at the end, it's a finance lease. Well, title's not changing hands. Is there a bargain purchase? No, there is not. And how do I know that that's not happening? Because it would have to say it in the question. If it doesn't say it, you assume it's not happening. The third criteria, is the lease term more than 75% of the remaining economic life, or 75% or more of the remaining economic life? And the answer is no, it's 3/8, right? 3 out of 8, it's 37%. So no, 38%, say, round it up. No, it's not. Doesn't hit that criteria. Is the present value of the lease payments 90% or more of the fair value of the asset being leased? Well, let's take the present value of these payments. So I got to PV that one, and that one. Now, this is an annuity. We could do PV of an annuity. I find when I have like 3 or fewer, I just do individual PVs. So divide this by 1.06 to the power of 1, divide this by 1.06 to the power of 2, and divide this by 1.06 to the power of 3. And I present value each of those individual payments and then add them together and we get there. I think this is faster. That's the only reason I'm doing it this way. Divided by 1.06. You could PV in your calculator. 9434 plus 10,000 divided by 1.06 squared. 8,900 actually rounds up here. 10,000 divided by 1.06 cubed. 8396. Okay, let's add them all up. 9434 plus 8900 plus 8396. 26730. 26730. And so is that more than 90% of the fair value of the van? Well, the fair value of the van, 34,000. 78%. So no, we didn't hit that criteria. So again, criteria 1, does title change hands? No. Bargain purchase? No. 75%, lease term 75% of the remaining economic life? No. Present value of the lease payments more than equal to or greater than 90% of the fair value of the asset? No. The final US GAAP criteria is the asset, does it have an alternative use once it's returned to us? Is it such a unique asset that we couldn't lease it out or do anything with it? And the answer, it's a delivery van, so yeah, it's fine, right? So that's not an issue either. It fails that criteria, and this therefore is not a finance lease. This is an operating lease. It says calculate the initial lease liability and right of use asset and do the journal entry. Okay, well, we have the values here. The journal entry is pretty simple, and it's very similar to what we would have done in previous questions. On January 1, 2031, we're going to debit right of use asset, and we're going to credit lease liability for 26,730. Easy for me to write. 730. Okay. So that's our first entry. Now it says do a lease amortization schedule for the full term of the lease. Okay, so we know our lease balance, 26,730, our lease liability initial balance. We know our interest is 6%. We know our payments, well, can't remember what they are, $10,000. And we just work our way down here. Okay, so 26,730 times 6% means our interest is $1,604. We make a $10,000 payment. $1,604 covers the interest, so $83.96 goes to reduce the liability. So we were at $26,730 minus $83.96 means we're at $18,334. Okay, we're at $18,334, 6% interest for the next year. It's $1,100. Meaning this has got to be $8,900, 10,000 minus 1,100, 8,900. And we were at 18,334 minus 8,900 is 94.34. Okay, we're at 94.34. We take 6%. Our interest expense is 566. 10,000 minus 566 is 94.34, and look at that, it worked out to the penny. Okay, so there is our schedule. Now on to, I think, the key element of this, the future journal entries, the payment or journal entries. And it is a little quirky, so let's get to it. It's December 31st, 2031, and we make a payment, $10,000. So let's credit cash, $10,000. I'm leaving room for lots of debits here and lots of other things. $10,000. Now we reduce our liability by $83.96. So let's reduce our liability, debit lease liability for $83.96. Now we have a different expense here when we have an operating lease. We don't do interest expense, we do something called lease expense. And our lease expense is the lease payment total, so $30,000 in total lease payments, divided by the number of years. So divided by 3 years worth of lease payments. So it is $10,000. Now, this is going to be a little weird here because it's the exact same as our lease payment, our lease expense. I don't want you to think the lease expense is the same as the lease payment. It's the total of the payments divided by the number of years, because there are certain times where we have uneven lease payments where that just doesn't work, that the payment and the expense are the same. It happens that they are for this question. So our lease expense is $10,000. And again, not because it matches the amount of the cash, but because it's the total payments divided by the number of years. That's why. So $10,000. So the balancing plug here, we got $18,000 of debits, we got $10,000 in credits. We're missing a credit of $83.96. This is a balancing plug, and it goes to right of use asset. And why do I credit my right of use asset? Well, remember, we are saying we have an asset on our books for $26,730. It's going to go down over the next 3 years. It's got to go down to zero at the end of this because I've got to return the asset to the lessor. And so I have to reduce the value of the asset. Now, we don't depreciate our asset in this method, right? There's no depreciation expense in AD. This is how we're going to reduce the value of our assets. It's a balancing, like in terms of the journal entry, it's a plug number, right? We have the cash amount. We know that for sure. We know the reduction of lease liability amount. We have the lease expense from here. The right of use asset is a plug. Now, it happens in this question, it's always going to match the lease liability. But again, if we have uneven payments, that amount's going to be different. Okay, so that was the 2031. I'm going to do 2032 just in blue ink beside, because it's the same debits and credits, just different numbers. So my lease expense for 2032 is $10,000. So debit lease expense for $10,000. My credit to cash, well, it is $10,000. My reduction of my lease liability in 2032 is $8,900. And therefore, to make it balance, I credit the right of use asset for $8,900. 2033, very similar. I'm going to debit lease expense for $10,000, and again, that's downstream of this. The lease expense is going to be the same every year. We would expect it to be the same every full year. My credit to cash, $10,000, the amount of the payment. Now, we don't expect the payment to necessarily be the same every year. There could be uneven payments, so this doesn't always have to work out. And if the payment doesn't match, then the debit to credit to lease liability and right of use asset won't match either. They do in this case. My reduction of my liability, $94.34. And my credit to right of use asset is $94.34. And there we have the US GAAP method done. So prepare the entries, done. IFRS, we just treat it as we would a finance lease in previous questions. So IFRS is just like, all right, let's see. Calculate the initial lease liability and right of use asset. Done. Like, that's this calculation, and that would have been how we would have normally done it if this was a finance lease. The journal entry on January 1st, 2031 is the same entry, debit right of use asset, credit lease liability, as I cough. Okay, so this is done, right? We did it in part one, like same answer. Then do the December 31st, 2031 entries. Well, there's two entries, and I don't want you to lose sight of this. On December 31st, 2031, we would record an entry based on this lease amortization table. So credit cash, I'm just reading the first line of the table here, $10,000. So this is IFRS. Credit cash, $10,000. Debit interest expense, $1,604. And debit lease liability, $83.96. But we also have to record the fact that our asset is falling in value, right? We had this right of use asset, and we're saying our asset's falling in value. Now, under IFRS, we would treat it like a finance lease, and that means we amortize or depreciate our asset. So, right of use asset was $26,730. We're depreciating it over 3 years, so $89.10. We debit depreciation expense. We credit accumulated depreciation for $89.10. And that's on December 31st, 2031. Okay, one more to do, and this is by far the simplest. Canadian ASPE, when you have an operating lease, Canadian ASPE says, treat it like you were renting a car, like for the weekend. And how would we do it if we were renting a car for the weekend? You'd go debit rent expense, car rental expense, credit cash, like when you make the payment. So you don't have some asset sitting on your books that you're depreciating over time. You just treat it like you're renting a piece of equipment for the week, right? And in those cases, it's very simple. You don't do anything on January 1st, 2031 when you've leased the thing. So again, Canadian ASPE, you just go, okay, well, at the end of the year, I paid $10,000 because I'd rented a vehicle, or was it a vehicle? What was it? A van. Yeah, I rented a van for the year. So, like, van rental expense, $10,000, credit cash, $10,000. And then you do that the next year and the year after. So very simple. You don't have to do PV of future payments or any lease payment table. I guess you do have to do PV to figure out that it's an operating lease. It's all the same steps for Canadian ASPE as US GAAP in terms of figuring out if it's operating versus capital. But once you figure out that it's operating, boy, is that easy. I don't think it's the best way, but it is the easiest way. So I like it. That's it, though, for problem 19.7a. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now. The next video in our series is right up here, and if you want a supercut of all of the videos in this series, that's the one down below.